And we're back talking shipwrecks with Rick Mixter. Rick, there's quite the event going on this Saturday.
It's so incredible. We actually have the entire hotel conference area at the Detroit Marriott in Livonia off 6 Mile. And we'll have 2 different rooms with speakers going all day from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock. And there's exhibits for people to see. There's scuba instructors. Everything from diving to just the history itself will be happening all weekend. And I kick off the show at 9 o'clock, so I'm thrilled.
What will you be talking about specifically?
I'm writing a new book on the sole survivors of shipwrecks, and I've located it down to 15, including a good friend of mine, Dennis Hale, who survived the Daniel J. Morrell in 1966. I didn't want to do the story because Dennis was alive and doing lectures, but sadly he got cancer and passed away. And so now I think it's time to really dive into that story and then tell the other sole survivors too. So my next book is called Last Witness.
Why is it so important to tell the stories of the survivors on these wrecks, not just the shipwreck themselves?
It's a fantastic chapter. I mean, yes, when people get lost in a shipwreck, it's tragic. And we learned that last year with the Fitzgerald. 29 people vanished. There was no, other than the heroes that went out to look for them, think of those people that survived for 2 nights. Nobody knew the Morrell was missing. He didn't have a chance to send off any kind of a mayday. So he survived that in his pea coat and his underwear. Those are the things that to me are incredible. And every one of the stories are 20 hours on a raft by themselves while everybody else was lost. And then the incredible people, the men and women that go out to rescue these people, I'm hooked on these stories. And it's so much more than just, diving on a shipwreck where everybody passed away.
I took a look at the agenda. You're talking about soul survivors. I also saw that there's something about some treasure ships as well.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. The Comet has silver ore on her deck. It'll be a fantastic treasure ship. It's been one of the ones that everybody's talked about forever. We have a U-boat that we'll be exploring. I think it's the 111 that's in deep water off of, I believe it's off the Carolinas. There's also the Carruthers story. There's so many people that are coming from around. Brendan Baylod will be here as well, talking about the F.J. King that they just discovered. So brand new stories. Most of the time people haven't heard them, and you're getting to meet the people actually were there.
You shipwreck hunters are such a curious bunch. You got so much information to tell. I wonder if you can tell me, has this been a more active time for shipwreck hunting than in the past? Where does the hobby, what's the status of it right now?
We'll never reach the numbers that we had when Sea Hunt was on TV, when Jacques Cousteau captivated me on CBS, and I was just watching, I wanted to be like him. We went into the 80s, it was a lot of divers now were falling off, and we need to find young people. There's very great schools to train people right here in the Detroit metro area, and I think that we can bring that back, but it's been a really tough run. So I would say the hunting has gone down a little bit, but the technology has come up so much where now people can afford to do it with fish finders, and we're just at a record number of shipwrecks being found, and deep water ones too that normally divers couldn't go to, but we can afford robots to go down there now.
What is so special about these robots? What is the technology they're using?
Robots go down into the cold water of Lake Superior. They never get cold. They never complain. They never get narked. As you go past 100 feet, the nitrogen that we breathe in becomes very bad for us. I go out of my mind at 160 feet. So a lot of guys and gals will actually train using helium to help them go down deep. But I don't like that. I like staying down forever with a robot with a lot of lighting that I can light up a shipwreck. And now with 6K cameras, it's unbelievable what we're seeing. The sad part is the zebra mussels and the quagga mussels are clogging a lot of the shipwrecks up now. Better visibility, but horrible to look at.
So we learned a little bit about this double-edged sword in the package you're going to see coming up next, but that was on the Lac La Belle. How did you feel when you heard that was found?
It was amazing because they've been looking for it for a while. I think it was discovered in 2022, but they just kind of kept it under their hat. To me, it's a fantastic shipwreck. It brings back the old steamers, and it was sunk in a way that it wasn't completely destroyed. So it's something to actually look at underwater. I just find every wreck fascinating, even if it's just a pile of boards. But the Lac La Belle is a special boat.
When you go shipwreck hunting, do you actually start in the library, I assume?
Most of the times, yeah, I'll go to the newspapers, and I don't have to always go to the library. So much has been scanned. This is another revolution that we've had, is the internet, where I can type in a keyword and not look at 50 different newspapers, where I used to have to do every page, every cartoon. Now I can type it in and at a revolutionary speed, discover a lot of the stuff that would never have been found before. So it's a lot easier doing it at home.
Well, and I've also found that there's also the story around the ship that you also can learn from that giant catalog catalog of information, including there's some of the little sweet details that seem to hang on, in addition to just sort of the craziness that you learn about a shipwreck, but of course what they're carrying, their cargo, where they're going, and the stories that they sort of, brought along the way.
The captains, the engineers, you can actually backtrack on the ships that they were on by going through the old books, the red books, the blue books that tell us what ships they were on. We can build a full story and get to know those people, even though in the newspaper it might have been one little line. I can learn a lot about them. And the owners of the ships, it's all fascinating to me. So it's all about telling that incredible story and finding that hook, and that's what we love doing.
Estimation, how many shipwrecks still lie undiscovered at the bottom of the Great Lakes?
We're still thinking 1,000, that some might be broken up, but there's about 300 really quality wrecks that we could find. We still want to find the French minesweepers on Lake Superior. It would be fantastic to find the Gilchrist. There's a couple of them that I would just be thrilled to be able to locate. Some of the mysteries of the Bannockburn, the ones that have been the ghost ships, all of that stuff would be incredible. But I think with technology and even satellites, there's a good chance we're going to start discovering them all.
Okay. And I gotta wonder, I've just thought of this question now. Do we ever do any shipwreck hunting in Lake Ontario?
Yeah, we do, and there's some fantastic people. Jim Kennard is an amazing shipwreck hunter who found the largest ship in Nisbet Grammar, which didn't have a song written about it, so nobody knows it exists, but it's an amazing story. And that, with the battles that happened in 1812 into Lake Erie, all of that stuff all has a chapter as well. So I think that every lake is worth exploring.
And then finally, for the details for tomorrow's event, what are you looking at?
If you go to greatlakeshipwreckfestival.org, it'll have the full calendar and everything. It's $40 a ticket, but it's all day. It's 2 simultaneous lectures going on, so you can pick which one to go to, which is totally frustrating because there's some great topics, but it's all day. It's great for the family. The topics are great, the gear is great, and the people are fantastic. So I hope people will come.
And this is not the first one, right?
No, since 1977. I was in middle school when they started this through the Ford Seahorses, the Ford Sea Lancers groups. They've been doing this for so long, and I've only been a part of it since probably 1997 or 98, but that's quite a while too, and it's an honor to be welcomed back every year.
Well, Rick, you're such an authority on this beloved topic, and we love learning so much about it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for sharing maritime history with your audience.
Absolutely. Coming up next, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the story of the Lac La Belle, one of the coolest and apparently holy grail shipwrecks. Isn't that cool?
It is.
That's up right after the break. And welcome back to this week's edition of Brother Nature. We're talking shipwrecks. You just heard about the festival going on in Livonia tomorrow, but a couple weeks ago, we actually learned that a brand new shipwreck was discovered, and man, oh man, apparently, as I just said, it's one of the holy grail of shipwrecks. This is a passenger steamship, and it was found in incredible integrity. Take a look.
Well, Lac La Belle is, among Lake Michigan maritime historians, one of the holy grail wrecks. It's in the top 5 wrecks that are still missing, that we're still missing on Lake Michigan. I go after things I can find, that's why I find one every year. Paul, I got to give that guy credit. He doesn't do that. Paul goes after the big prizes, the big trophies, the ones that are hard. And the Lac La Belle, I never bothered looking for.
My name is Paul E. Horn. Well, I'm 80 years old. I'm no kid anymore. It's getting harder to do some things. I'm not diving anymore, but I dove for 52 years. I looked for shipwrecks for many years, since the mid-60s. And I searched for this Lac La Belle. Oh, I knew about it in the mid-60s. I spent weeks and hundreds of hours in libraries doing research and talking with other people too.
He's kind of like me, we don't go looking unless something prompts us, and in his case, our mutual friend Ross Richardson had found a new clue, a historical clue, and it turned out that account was right on the money. He had the thing within a couple of runs.
We found it in it was the second run we made, and found it in a little less than 2 hours, which, for the first time out to look for a wreck, that's amazing. You do this grid on the lake, up and down, and we just about completed. Well, we did complete the second pass. We were in the turn, and that's where I picked it up.
Tell me a little bit about the story of the Lac La Belle. What's its sort of origins and how did it go down?
It was, kind of a regal vessel for its day. And people, would have taken it who were well heeled. It was not the working poor. This was not a transportation vessel that the immigrants took. It was really something more that businessmen and people, visiting the Lake Superior ports would take. And later, of course, the Lac La Belle was struck by another vessel in the St. Clair River in 1866 and laid on the bottom in 30 feet of water. And they had a tremendous amount of time recovering her, or difficulty recovering her, even though she was only in 30 feet of water. Her upper works were breaking the surface, but she was right against the bank of the river. And it took them 3 years before they raised her. They sold her to the Engelman Transportation Company in Milwaukee for a pretty low price. Kind of like buying a flood damaged car. And Engelman spruced her up and put her on the Milwaukee to Grand Haven run. Where she is tells us a lot about what really happened that night. I think the state of sort of devastation of the upper works of the vessel, they're literally absent, is that the storm was violent, more violent than we thought.
More violent than we thought. It kind of didn't even sort of makes sense to me at first. You think about all these shipwrecks, but you don't really know what took them down. You assume it might have been bad weather. You assume it might have been bad steering. Turns out, and I have to give Brendan Bailout a lot of credit here, he told me a lot of these shipwrecks actually went down because the infrastructure that they were trying to steer their ship into, these piers, they were built poorly, and there was not a lot of funding back in the 1800s. Also going on, unmapped reefs and shoals that would actually ground these ships as well. A lot of these things didn't go down in bad weather. They went down for a lot of other curious reasons you wouldn't have expected. A couple other fun facts about the Lac La Belle. It had a second propeller, pretty big back then. That meant that it could go a third faster, which made it a much more effective vessel for getting over the lakes at a much quicker time. A couple other fun facts as well. It would have cost about $50 to ride on it in today's money. These are highways on the Great Lakes, and they were essentially the main source of transportation getting across our Great Lakes for a huge chunk of time before the automobile came in. I think that tells quite the fascinating story of the Great Lakes, and I have to say I'm just so appreciative that we get to live around it. It's just so full of history. All right, coming up next, we're going to go from underground, or underwater rather, and take a look up at the stars. That much and much more coming up after the break. And we're back here with Brother Nature. So we just explored what's underneath our Great Lakes and all the shipwrecks that they have to offer. But I thought it might be kind of interesting if we took a look at what else is going on way above us. And that's why I went out to the Cranbrook Institute of Science for a little preview on the meteor showers coming to our skies this year. Take a look.
About 50,000 years ago, a big object hit what is now Arizona, and it created a mile-wide crater. And you can still find pieces of it in Arizona. This is one sizable chunk. It's a great big chunk of iron nickel. So you can see the pitting on it. That's one of the telltale signs that it's from outer space. When it comes through our atmosphere, it gets very, very hot, and a lot of those pits are revealed. And then it's also magnetic because it's iron and nickel.
So using this as sort of a launch-off point, tell us, because we're talking about meteor showers in 2026. Let's first start with what is a meteor shower?
So when objects go around the sun, like say a comet or certain asteroids, they leave behind them a debris trail. And when the Earth moves through that debris trail, that stuff hits our atmosphere and it burns up, and we see it as streaks of light in the sky. And there are named meteor showers, but there are also just little bits of debris that hit our atmosphere all the time. So even if it's not like a named meteor shower, like the Perseids or the Lyrids, you could go out on any clear, dark night and probably see 2-3 an hour.
And those aren't necessarily named meteor showers?
Correct. That's just random stuff that's hitting the Earth. But usually meteor showers are caused by comets. Comets are great big ice cubes, essentially. When they get close to the sun, they produce these beautiful tails. It's that tail remnant that we're passing through.
And tell us about what tail remnants we'll be seeing this year.
Oh, well, there are big meteor showers every single month. Probably the ones that are easiest for us here in southeastern Michigan, where our skies don't get as dark as we'd like them to. There's the Perseid meteor shower, which will have about 100 meteors, give or take an hour. It peaks on August 12th. In fact, we'll be doing a special event here that night, so folks can stop by and use our observatory and go out and lay on our grass and in our parking deck and look up. The Geminits is the other big one. It's in December 14th, I think, is when it peaks. That one you can see hundreds and hundreds an hour. That's an easy one to see here in Michigan. So the Lyrids are in April, around mid-April. That one also comes from a comet. It's not particularly active. You'll get anywhere between 15 and 20 an hour that you'll be able to see.
What is considered a active shower, I suppose?
For me, an active shower is 60 or more. Because if you think about it, 60 an hour is one every minute. So sit in your chair for a minute and it seems like an eternity. There are things, though, called meteor storms. So the difference between a shower and a storm, shower is, you can see 50 or so. A storm is when we're hitting a particularly dense part of the debris field. You can see thousands an hour. I mean, and there have been historic recordings of people seeing meteor storms, and the depictions that they drew is just like a shower of light coming down.
So that's Mike Narlock, and I did actually get the chance to ask him, what's the best way to actually go see one of these things? How far do you have to go? And he said, his opinion, anywhere around Metro Detroit, it's probably not going to be the best gazing you've ever seen. You could drive about 25-30 minutes and get a glimpse of it, but he would recommend you got to go up to the UP. I would say there is a dark sky park just on the other side of I-75 right south of the bridge. That's on a beach, and wow, that's worth checking out if you ever get the chance. That being said, if you do look up and there's some clear skies Saturday night, you are going to see a planetary parade. That's right, 6 planets aligned in the sky. Take a look at the western horizon. 30 minutes after sunset, you will see Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, all in line with this Earth. And I think that's pretty dang cool. All right, also, I want to tell everybody, if anyone doesn't have it, the Merlin Bird app is a great way to pick up any of the sounds you might be hearing outside your house. I did that this past weekend. Take a listen. So that is the pine siskin. The pine siskin does not migrate very far south. It stays up here during the winter, which got me wondering, why isn't it going down south? So I asked an ornithologist at U of M why that is. Take a listen.
A lot of the birds that breed here in Michigan do migrate. There's less resources in the winter, fewer options for them to find food. This is especially true for insect-eating birds. So a lot of our songbirds pretty much eat insects, and these often have to vacate places like Michigan for the winter. The ones that don't have to have some alternative way of surviving the winter if they don't migrate. And so this often involves some dietary flexibility or some behavioral flexibility. So for example, chickadees or titmice or nuthatches that are really common in backyard feeders in Michigan. All these birds are pretty flexible in their diet. They can eat insects as well as seeds. And they're also really good at hoarding food that they then find later. So they actually stash away seeds or nuts in tree bark or crevices, and they find it later. And this is an adaptation they have to survive periods when there's a lot less food. And then we can think about woodpeckers. So woodpeckers are another kind of bird that is commonly non-migratory. So they stay in places like Michigan all year round. And of course, they have this great adaptation to be able to get food out of the trunk of a tree by excavating grubs from the bark. And so this allows them to find food in the tree in the dead of winter.
One final note in this week's Brother Nature. A study came out just 2 days ago Those that are professional bird watchers, turns out it's an actual profession, they actually are training their brain in ways that can actually exercise it from cognition, from memory, from perception, and this basically keeps you from going on autopilot, can help you have improved cognition for the rest of your life, which is not a bad way to live if you need to pick up a pretty cheap hobby. All right, that's everything this week on Brother Nature. Fox 2 Detroit Live is coming up next. See you next week.